What's up guys, Razio here, and today I'm going to show you how to optimize your PS4 or your PS4 Pro for Final Fantasy XIV. A few of these changes will actually benefit all the games you play on your PS4, so get ready to be marginally informed.
I am Razio.
Alright, now to start off I want to preface this video by letting you know that some of these changes will help a PS4 Pro more than a standard release day PS4 or a PS4 Slim. Now I'll explain why, but all of these things you can do will help regardless of the type of PS4 you have or what size and quality of the monitor or TV that you're playing on. The first thing you can change are some basic settings within Final Fantasy XIV. First and foremost, if you're on a PS4 Pro, change the graphics settings to full 1080p instead of the PS4 Pro 4K setting under your graphics settings. Because if you do this, you'll pretty much guarantee a constant 60 frames per second, even in pretty congested areas, and regardless of your screen size. The graphic quality difference between the PS4 Pro upscale mode and the full 1080p mode is so minuscule, you'll definitely just want to go with the option that's going to yield you more frames per second. Unfortunately, the PS4 Pro patch that was put into Final Fantasy XIV to upscale it for Stormblood wasn't as great as we thought it was going to be, but to be honest, you can't tell that much of a difference, and if you're on the 4K mode, you're going to be dipping into 30 frames a second, sometimes lower, in extremely congested areas like Eureka and major cities where something's going on. But in 1080p mode, you never have any of those issues. As a side note, for most PS4 Pro users, make sure, for all PS4 users, make sure you have boost mode turned on in your PlayStation system settings. This is very important because if you're playing any game that isn't a PlayStation 4 Pro game, like it hasn't had a patch come out to support the Pro, you're going to get better frames per second, better quality image with boost mode turned on. And if you run into an issue where it crashes, just turn it off, but I haven't run into that issue yet. And this also applies to the 1080p mode in Final Fantasy XIV. Boost mode is what helps keep it at 60 frames per second all the time. Now, that step will drastically improve frames per second for PS4 Pro and PS4 Pro users. So just do it. Now, another thing you can do to get some more performance is to change your settings to only show spell effects of yourself and the members of your party. You could only do yourself if you want, but I find members of your party to be extremely helpful when you're doing the 8-man, 4-man, and 24-man content. It's really simple to do. Just go to your character config screen, click the character tab, and then you can change battle effect settings to whatever you want. I personally only show the battle effects of myself and my party members, which helps a lot, because when you go to an area like Eureka where you're doing a fate train and there's tons and tons and tons of players there, up to 144 players in an area at once, you will have a shitty time if you have all the effects turned on for every single person. So those are some basic settings and very limited to Final Fantasy, with the exception of boost mode, which will help any game. But now on to a big change you can do to your PlayStation. It's a hardware change. So as I'm sure many of you know, both the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, they make it pretty simple to switch out your hard drive. That's something I highly recommend doing. Solid state drives are very expensive still. They've gone down in price, but to get something at least 500 gigs or bigger, up to a terabyte, you're going to drop $200, $300, sometimes $400 on a drive like that, which is not cost effective for a system that costs in between $300 and $400. So I recommend a slightly different approach, and this is the one I personally went with. Go with a hybrid drive. Hybrid drives are a mix between standard hard drive and solid state drives. They're astronomically cheaper than getting a solid state drive, and realistically the benefits you're going to get on a solid state drive over a hybrid drive on a PlayStation 4 is not huge. So the two drives I recommend are the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte versions of Seagate's Fire CUDA gaming series. And how they work is they have a built-in flash cache, that can store. Over time, the hard drive recognizes what games you play the most, what files you're accessing. So if you generally play 2-3 games on your PS4 regularly, it remembers that, and it starts to access those files that you access regularly quicker. And you can drastically reduce your load times. It's not going to increase frames per second or things like that, but it's going to drastically reduce how long it takes on every load screen that you get. Now, the PS4 Pro benefits from this upgrade far more than a standard PS4. And this is the reason why, as I mentioned earlier, I tell you why. And it's because the PS4 Pro uses a SATA 3 hard drive interface, while the PS4 Standard and Slim uses a SATA 2. But both systems will still benefit. Since upgrading my PS4 Pro, I've seen load times reduced by anywhere from 10 to 30 second load time, taken off the load time, depending what I'm doing. And I've also, my friend got one, and he has a standard PS4, and he's still getting anywhere between 5 and 15 seconds of quicker load times on his games, especially games like Final Fantasy XIV, where every time you teleport, it has to load in a city or something like that. You can find these drives on Amazon. They range from $62.99 for the 1 terabyte version and $94.99 for the 2 terabyte version. And you can even buy, if you want, a full PS4 hard drive replacement kit with instructions and all the necessary things you'll need to swap out hard drives and copy your data for $137.95. And that's the 2 terabyte version that comes with that. I just bought the hard drive myself. I'm experienced in computers, so I bought the hard drive and a hard drive cloner to do the trick. And the cloner I got is also pretty inexpensive, and it doesn't require a PC to clone your hard drive. So you can take your old drive, put it in, your second drive, put it in, and it'll copy your drive to the other drive. So you can literally just pull it out, put it in your PS4, and it's like nothing changed. But keep in mind that when you clone a hard drive that is smaller to one that is larger, for example, if you clone a 500 gigabyte hard drive to a 1 terabyte hard drive or a 2 terabyte hard drive, you do need some knowledge of disk management on your PC to get access to the full amount of space in your new drive, to take that unallocated space and make it available when you put in your PlayStation. Otherwise, if you have a 500 gig hard drive and you clone it to a 2 terabyte hard drive and you plug it into your PlayStation, yes, those 500 gigs copy perfectly. Your PlayStation will run just like it had its old hard drive in, but that other terabyte and a half of data you can't access that and save things to it until you do this. So, I'm sure there's already a lot of guides that exist on how to do something like that. But if you want an in-depth guide, let me know, and I'll see if I'll try to get around to making one if enough people, feel it's necessary. But it's a pretty simple process to do. Now, I've linked all the products that I just mentioned in the description in the video. No, I am not being paid by any of these fucking companies to put advertise their shit. They're just good, so if something's good, I'm going to tell the people that it's good so they get a good experience as well. The next thing I want to talk about, it isn't so much a performance game by changing any kind of settings, but more about what you play with. Now, if you're used to playing MMORPGs, games like Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, any of those other games on PC, and you've switched to the PlayStation 4 like I did, I highly recommend you use the keyboard and mouse when playing Final Fantasy on the PlayStation. It's night and day difference. Even the best players of Final Fantasy XIV and Reddit threads that use controller will admit that you do get better performance and have more window room for skill when you're using a mouse and keyboard. It's really easy to set up a mouse and keyboard on your PS4 or your PS4 Pro. The keyboard itself doesn't matter so much. I just do recommend you try to get a mechanical keyboard over the alternatives, as they have faster response times. And I'll link actually what keyboard I bought for my PlayStation 4. It is mechanical. It was nowhere near expensive as the keyboard for my PC, which is a Corsair I think it's a Corsair 70. I don't remember, but it was expensive. It was like $200. You want to get a keyboard that's not going to break the bank, and it'll still get the job done. So, like I said, what keyboard you choose isn't quite as important. The mouse, however, is very important. I recommend above every other mouse in existence, the best MMORPG mouse that, in my opinion, you can get your hands on, and it's gone down drastically in price, is the Logitech G600. Like I said, in my opinion, best MMO mouse on the market, hands down. It has 20 buttons on it. They can all be mapped to different abilities, different, keybinds, macros. Another huge reason this mouse is fantastic for the PS4 is because it overcomes the hurdle that consoles have of not being able to recognize extra mouse buttons as individual keys, because you can't map things on the PS4. But the G600 has a built-in memory module, so all you have to do is plug your mouse into a PC, download the Logitech software, map all the buttons on your mouse to whatever keybinds you want them to be, and then you save it, then unplug the mouse, plug in your PS4, and fucking just bam, all your maps, key maps, and our things are saved, and it'll work like on the PS4 like you set it up on the PS4 right then. All you have to do is go into your keybinds and just press the buttons and what you want them to bind them to, because the PlayStation will at that point recognize the mouse as a keyboard pointing device, and those keys as keys that have been programmed into its memory. So very, 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 very simple thing to do. Anyway, guys, that wraps it up for this video. Let me know what you think. If you know some additional ways to get more performance out of your PS4, Slim, Regular, or Pro, especially in Final Fantasy XIV, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on fucking Shitbird, aka Twitter, and on Twitch, where I've started to regularly stream. So I'm going to be having regularly, in between 3 and 4, maybe even 5 streams a week. It just varies depending on my job, but I'm trying to stream as much as I can. Subscribe and hit the like button and the alert bell if you liked it. And go fuck yourself and hit the dislike button if you didn't. And as always, guys, I'll have more content coming your way soon. Keep it real.